really happy today to be able to let you talk with Charles East and Lydia Badia. These guys are like a triple threat. Number one, Charles was kind of an accident, as he'll tell you in a minute. He wasn't somebody I interviewed for fellowship, and he came into my life kind of almost randomly, and has been great friends ever since. Lydia, the same. I was at a meeting at the Royal College of Surgeons, and Charles was there, and Lydia and I heard her give a lecture. I think it was on septoplasty, and I was just so impressed with the lecture and with her. And thirdly, I have two great friends, and they're like it's kind of like a twofer. I got 2 for 1 here, and they're great. When they got married, I was so excited to be able to see them both at the same time. So, Charles, I can't quite remember. Can you tell us how you kind of got to the Mason Clinic and what happened? I remember you kind of came for something else and kind of switched to the middle of the path.
Well, yeah, it's funny, isn't it? You sort of said serendipity. I kind of my feet. I originally came with a link of doing some research around skull-based surgery, and I wanted to learn some facial plastics to deal with facial paralysis and some of the consequences of skull-based stuff. But as you probably know, as soon as I arrived, the surgeon I was allocated basically to work with decided to leave. So I was left in the research center with Dwight Sutton, who was a wonderful, wonderful guy, doing some laboratory work with them. And then you were very kind enough to say, look, I've got this young guy, Dean Toriumi, working with me, and you're more than welcome to hang out. And he goes in about 3 months, and I've got no one else. So you're welcome to stay on. And I have to say, I mean, talk about landing with a golden bowl in your lap. Thank you very, very much, because you opened my eyes to a whole aspect of work.
And what year was that?
God, that was 1999.
Oh, yesterday, just yesterday.
Yesterday.
89, no, actually, yeah, 89, 90, sorry, 89, 90. 89, yeah. 90 was it?
Yeah.
Because it was tremendous, because Seattle was, I mean, I had no idea how wonderful the place was. I fell in love with it straight away. Commuted from Bainbridge Island up to Virginia Mason, and I just thought, this is tremendous. And then when we lived in Volunteer Park, I'd cycle along that ridgeway with the Cascades on one side and Lake Union on the other. And I thought, God, amazing. Lucky to be living here. Anyway, and the rest of the work was tremendous. The staff were brilliant. The atmosphere was super. And I had a ball.
Yeah. Well, so good to see you. I've always felt a little guilty. I remember I sold you my old car that was almost dead for, I think, $89 or something like that. And somehow you kept it alive the time you were there. So it was...
Well, we did. We fixed the brakes, which meant that the suicide mission stopped. However, there was another silver lining in that too, because someone clanked the car in one of the supermarkets, and the insurance gave us a check at the end of the time for almost as much as I paid you. So please don't feel bad.
We've both been lucky. Yeah, it was funny in those days with the research center, because Dwight was a wonderful guy, and I was at that time doing research on piglet skin mechanics and stuff like that. And
yeah, I'd
actually go buy the pigs in a little farmer's market. That was before things got so strict on research. And I didn't hurt them. I'd give them a little local anesthetic and stretch their skin a bit. And Dwight had a farm on Bainbridge, so I'd drive him over to Dwight's farm, and you see these big hogs running around with Z-plasties on their side and stuff later.
I remember, because I stayed with him for the first month.
It was so fun.
And Kathy C and I were doing similar stuff as well with drugs. And anyway, that was a very fun time.
It was so funny. Kathy, she's head of pediatrics at Children's now. And she's famous. She's head of ABOTA now, I think, president of ABOTA. Really? But at that time, she was my resident and Dean was my fellow. And then you were around also, but they'd fight over cases. And Kathy was tough. She had to have like a little skin flap or something. She'd say, "Yeah, Dean, that's my case. Keep your hands off of it." And Dean was like, it was a fun time, and all those people were young. And that's the year we also started doing the cadaver dissections. I don't know if you were there for those, but it was, and it was so interesting. That was the early days of, not the early days, but kind of early days of sinus surgery, endoscopic sinus surgery. And I wasn't doing that, but the people at the U, Charlie Cummings and Wade Mueller and those guys, were giving cadaver courses in endoscopic sinus surgery. So I asked them what they did with the cadavers after they finished, playing around with their sinuses, and they basically did nothing with them. What a waste. So they did that course on Saturday. So I started on Sunday doing, we'd do, ptosis repair, facelifts, skin flaps, whatever, osteotomies on the cadavers. We started out very informally. Now it's gotten formal. Craig Murakami and then Sam Most, and now Mott Ronnie. It's been a generation of fellows have taken over that course, and now in fact, we ought to get you there sometime, because it's in, all of us come and we do.
I still have some of the old photographs of comparing Tony Bull's percutaneous osteotomy with the endonatal ones.
Yeah, exactly.
The lines drawn in it. I mean, that's still fresh in my memory. That
It was fun.
I didn't realize, was Sam one of your fellows?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh,
Yeah, Sam, I took him with the idea, I took him as a fellow with the idea that he'd go, because he wanted to stay at the university. And I usually don't take university people, but I did in this case. And so he was my fellow, and then he went to the university and we worked together. But they really couldn't get it together, a place for him to do cosmetic surgery. It's been an ongoing problem at the U. And then he got the offer at Stanford. I still remember Bill Fee, who was at Stanford, called me up and says, "We're looking at this Most guy. What do you think of him?" I said, "He's great." He said, "Okay, that's it." And then he called it one name offer. But he's still calling.
That's a proper interview.
Yeah. Well, Bill Fee was a character. But anyway, that's kind of how it used to work in the old days. Now things are much more bureaucratic. You go through committees and have to make sure you're diverse and that everybody, it's just a different world we live in.
different world, yes.
Yeah. So when I met Lydia, you were in practice then, or you're still training? I can't remember.
No, I was a consultant then. That was early part of the 90s. So Lydia worked for me at that stage.
He was boss.
That was the only time I was ever in charge.
Yeah. Once you get married, that's the wrap.
And then
No, that was. I was appointed a consultant in '93. Actually, it was interesting coming back from Seattle because I'd learned things that no one in the UK understood what I was doing, to be honest, in ENT. So I had a slightly tricky year or two because my bosses were great. They said, we're not sure what you're up to, but we'll defend you if there's a problem. So I had this sort of free reign for a year or two until I got appointed at the Royal National. And that's when I first met Lydia, when she came over and started her ENT career in London.
yes, I was a trainee, I think, when you and I first met, Wayne.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, amazing. I remember staying at your house one time. What was it called? The pink room, one of your daughter's rooms. It was full of little fluffy pink things.
I've always admired you in so many ways, and professionally, obviously, but also personally. Your energy, it's like unbelievable. I've never really, other than my husband, met anyone with your energy and your thrive for life and your zest for wanting to be there. I promise, Wayne, you are totally unique.
Well,
as a person.
thank you for those kind words, but I could say I'm back at both of you guys. You've been amazing. What did you, what's your practice like now? Is it just rhinoplasty? I'm going to follow you guys and I talk to you. Doing strictly rhinoplasty, and how did you kind of go that direction?
90%.
About 90% of that, yeah. So we went through some stumbling with my previous sort of colleagues and left. When did we form Rhinoplasty London? 2015?
Well, so Rhinoplasty London itself was before that, 2012. But we still were in the old practice, which you might have seen actually in Harley Street at the number 150.
Right, I came there, you were there, and there was somebody else upstairs who was doing ear surgery or something. I can't remember the name.
Yes,
that's right.
That's
exactly that. But things changed dramatically not that long ago in 2017, when the business was then purely us, and we, for the first time, focused on the business and on making it brilliant, on making it bespoke to patients, on making it profitable. It was really, it was an eye-opener actually. We've done all these years of training and being consultants, but it was until quite recently, and then things really changed and took over. And now I think it's better than ever in all fronts, COVID aside.
Well, even that's actually given us another big swing in how we've practiced. So, Lydia's been brilliant at thinking and evolving our platforms. And obviously one of the important things is picking the right patients. And I think whichever practice you're in, that's probably the skill that takes you the longest to hone. And she's been fantastic about developing processes and strategies, and that's a huge difference to us, huge difference to us.
It's better for everybody. If the patient likes us and we like them, that kind of togetherness, it's then.
She's also stopped that sort of, you know, a lot of people when they get more senior end up doing more complex things, and you end up with all the problem cases. Well, I look at some of my colleagues in Europe and I thought, I don't want to end my career on the last day of every course talking about the most complicated operations. So that sort of philosophy made us change completely how we've engaged our patients. And you've seen social media and how we sort of present ourselves. That has been unbelievably powerful in changing the referral pattern. So now we're talking at meetings on the first day in the important bit, not at the end of that time.
Yeah, but also we've been so lucky because within rhinoplasty, I mean, luckily in the last 10 years, there has been this renaissance of techniques and of tools, the ultrasonic tools, the preservation techniques. So rather than just getting more and more senior and more stuck in just doing it one way, handwritten and osteotomist, now it's almost super interesting in learning every time we do an operation.
As well as acknowledging the brilliance of my wife in this, I've also got to acknowledge the friends who invited me into the craniofacial service at UCH. So I still have an academic appointment there as a clinical professor. And that was amazing in terms of extending the true range of facial plastics, which we would do every month. So for sort of the last 10 years, I've been a very active member there, learning other sort of skills and parallel skills. So particularly oculoplastics, upper jaw surgery, fat transfers, blephs, all the complicated things. So that's been tremendous. And the other group who've been instrumental are the International or Independent Rhinoplasty Research Forum, which is a cabal of friends which includes Yves Sapin, Rick Davis, Roland Daniel,
Aaron
Cousins, and a guy from Germany, Milos Kovacevic, Olivier Gerbeau, and Göksel from Turkey. And that has been the best entertaining focus group that's really stimulated me and reawoken to keep up with all these modern developments. So I have to take my hat off to them for being the stimulus for moving forwards. And we've really benefited from that association on all fronts,
I know most of the people, they're an amazing group. You know, it's interesting on my end, I've gone a similar thing, but it's not really rhinoplasty. I'm kind of doing simpler rhinoplasty. There is such thing. It's interesting. I did something with preservation rhinoplasty years ago, and then I had another word for it. It was basically not taking the opposite of toriumi. I mean, not taking everything out and putting it back in again, but just using what you have in place. I never got into the piezo stuff, unfortunately, but I've started really getting.
I acknowledge Gene Kern too, because he's been a great friend over the last 10 years too, and
another person I admire together with you, Gene Kern, again.
So how do you guys share your cases now? I mean, it looks like you're a team. I mean, you don't operate together, I presume. One of you does a case, and you just kind of. How do you do it? Are there Lydia cases and Charles cases, or are the patients both of your?
Yeah. I mean, all the patients come in under the umbrella of Rhinoplasty London. Lydia's got her favourites and has a group or a type of surgery that she likes to do. Lots of people that want to see her that she doesn't particularly want to do their operation. So she said, look, I tell you what, we'll work together with Charles. So so very often we're working together, we're operating together. So she has her own patient list, as it were. I have my own patient list, which is a slightly different spectrum. And then we often come together for patients that want us to do that, or for patients that Lydia feels it's better that we're both involved in the procedure. For example, the current lady going through our Instagram post, is clearly, totally a joint sort of venture. And with that, we've also got a fantastic clinical nurse specialist at the moment.
We're so fortunate. She's a gem.
Theatre trained, very clever, Italian, very sparky, very bright. So between us all that, you know, she's very good at plasters off. She's actually a practice nurse as well, so she can close rib incisions, close wounds easily. So she's a proper nurse practitioner. So between the three of us, it's been actually the most fun in the last sort of 4 years, 5 years since we've developed that.
In fact, the whole team at the moment is the best team I can ever remember. The practice managers are like family, and the practice nurse is like, we couldn't do without her. We really couldn't work without those wonderful women. Those three women are really making us who we are. We do a great job, but they really take a lot of the credit for it.
And they've been very effective in terms of how we've managed the pandemic and changed. So now we've maximized a lot of our time. So you remember in the old days, you get someone sit in front of you for an hour and you're not sure whether they'd commit or go backwards and forwards. You know, now with how they have to approach our practice, it's completely filtered a lot of patients out. We get people who are really committed, and when they come to the face-to-face after the video initial consult, it's all go, 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 go. And I think that's been a huge advantage, and that's thanks to our staff as well.
And the other wonderful thing is that the patients now get so much information beforehand that it makes it easier for them to decide. They send the photographs, we do the analysis, the video consult, they understand the price bracket, they understand the timing, the waiting time. So they've got so much information that then it's really beneficial to our time management, because we don't have to spend so much time consulting.
Yeah.
On the video consults, I mean, those take time too. I mean, I've been doing those, and I find they take about as much time as the in-person ones sometimes. Yeah.
Well,
but it's cheaper because there is no expense in that. You can do it in your own time, and you don't have to be in the office for it.
We started doing that about a year before COVID hit. Actually, we'd thought about that, and we've kind of refined a pathway where there's a pre-consult by the nurse. There's a very defined questionnaire with a prom involved in it. So we've got 80% of the information really. And then the consult normally is about 20, 30 minutes in most patients.
That's good.
So, I mean, that's great. And then out of that, the other thing is you've become a successful on one aspect, and then say, what else do you do? So we kind of built out a non-surgical practice from that Lydia's kind of championing, but we need some more help with that now. In fact, we need another surgeon on board with us, because at the moment it's becoming a little bit unmanageable for just the two of us.
Yeah, I just put a lot of effort into our non-surgical work, and it's interesting. I mean, the injectables are pretty straightforward, but all the various energy machines trying to pick the right one, and it's I've got good.
Yeah, we only have a radio frequency machine. That's all, and we've decided not to invest in those high-tech things. Only the things that we know work and that we can use.
Yeah, so I think that's wise, because the energy machines, I mean, some of them are great and some aren't, and they cost a lot of money. And but the injectables are straightforward. And then lasers, I like lasers. We've got lasers are fun, so it's good. So what's your future going to look like? You just stay on the same path for a few more years?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I don't, what's the Jewish phrase? Don't give up something until you've got something better. So, I mean, no, I mean, I have to say that it's now, I feel very, very comfortable with where we've got to. I've got more energy back. I'm very happy with everything that's going on, family-wise, work-wise.
Yeah, well, good.
And thinking like you, I don't really want to stop. I feel I've got lots of energy and lots of things to give still. So.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, because I talked to Norm Pastoric a while back, because I was looking at things, and I don't know if he wants to advertise his age, so I won't, but he he's older than I am, let me say that. And he really just decided he thought he was going to shut down during COVID, because it was kind of time, but just decided he wanted to keep going. He's basically just like exactly what you folks said, and what I've started doing is just picking his patients, operating on who he wants to operate on, nice people that he knows he can get good results on, and he raised his prices in the process, and it's got more business.
Yeah. Well, you know what, it's pointless really, isn't it? Because what happens if you stop, unless you've got other sort of parallel hobbies or things you've developed, and if you enjoy what you're doing, and you can control it. I think the most important thing is being able to control what happens so that it doesn't run you. What was the term you said? Golden handcuffs sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy when you get super busy to kind of overdo it. And it's,
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I've just hired a nurse practitioner. I have high hopes for her. I think she's going to be great. But I've got amazing staff. You've seen them over the years, but it's kind of like, you know, one door closes, another one opens every time somebody leaves. If I seem to find somebody a little better, so it's all good. Well, it's been great talking to you guys.
It's always a pleasure to speak to you. And I have to say, I owe you a debt of gratitude for what you've done to inspire me and Lydia too. So I thank you very much and congratulations on this anniversary.
Yeah, thank you.
We love you so much, Wayne. We love you.
Okay.
Very much. And a big kiss to Amy too.
Okay.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.